Welcome to the IIFX Tech Talk podcast series. I'm Marciani, Director of the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience. Our Tech Talk podcast features members of the IIFX Xperience Consortium. The Xperience Consortium is a worldwide industry tech ecosystem and think tank comprised of tech companies, many with global footprints, which are digitally transforming the world and the sports and entertainment industry. The consortium members are reimagining sports and entertainment in the digital age. Each podcast features companies and organizations who use technology to drive increased revenue, sustain attendance growth, operational efficiency, sustainability, and enhance fan journey. The consortium's goal is to help the sports and entertainment industry create immersive, memory-making fan experiences. Today's Tech Talk features Axis Communications. It's my pleasure to welcome Rob Meuhlbauer, Senior Manager, Business Development. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Dr. Lou. It's great to be here today.
Well, what does it mean to be a member of the consortium?
We joined the consortium for really focusing on, what values could we provide to this industry of operators and really bring different types of solutions to solve specific use cases that operators or venues that are challenged. And we saw your experience and what you've built up in terms of looking at an ecosystem of partners under your leadership to really come together and look at the industry, looking at the technology and what are the innovations that we can help bring and solve these use cases. So we're really excited to be part of the consortium and join our piece to this.
Oh, you've been a tremendous addition to the consortium, Rob, as you know. As a stadium manager, I'm looking at video solutions for my arena. A good network. What does that really mean?
Yeah, that's the infrastructure in place. So as we know, almost all security systems are now IP based, and you have to have a proper infrastructure to handle the video, the audio, any type of data. So once you have all that infrastructure in place, then that's kind of the base and the framework that allows you to put these specific solutions in your venue.
Yeah, one of the things that the venue operators talk to me about is the evolution of the network audio speakers. And so how does that complement video today in our stadiums and arenas?
Yeah, so just like network video or video, IP-based video evolved from analog to digital, same thing is happening on the analog side, where speakers now are IP-based. And what that means is that they can be combined in these digital-based systems and enhanced for venue operators. So we like to have a saying where you can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears. And so whenever you hear an audio announcement, you definitely pay attention to it. So, we're seeing it being used in venues for different types of, for example, on the operational side, directing the people to the specific gates when they enter, or say they're out tailgating and the game's going to be starting soon, making sure those types of notifications, to even if you have on the security side, say, for example, if you have a perimeter and you have a fence and people are jumping the fence, it's great. Or they even come close to the fence, you can run analytics, put a speaker out there, let them know that they're being watched, and typically they will turn around. So it's really a complementary to video, and it can be integrated.
Well, especially with the evacuation training and evacuations, we utilize that to the best we can. So it is a great addition and complement to the analytics that we are given through, the video surveillance systems we got. Mm-hmm. This past weekend, I noticed that at the White Sox game, we had a little fan behavior issue. And I know that we're all concerned in our industry about fan behavior these days. How can the body-worn cameras help us in these challenging situations like in Chicago this weekend?
Yeah, body-worn cameras really add another layer of video security to the facility, and can be used in a couple of ways. And I think as we know, with venue operators, if they've had struggling with staffing and getting people, you really want to empower the people that are employed, especially that can be dealing with these types of difficult situations. And what we've seen is there's a lot of he said, she said type activities when you have these types of disputes. And whenever you have a body-worn camera and you have that digital audio and video, that really resolves a lot of the questionable activity that's happening. But it also, more importantly, a lot of times if a guard shows up with a body-worn camera on, people tend to behave themselves very quickly whenever they see a body-worn camera is there. So it acts as both as somewhat of calming the situation, but also when there's the questionable activity, it gives that evidence.
Is there a growth in that area in Axis right now as we look at policing, et cetera?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because I think when most people think of body-worn cameras, they think of a police officer, and what we are finding in general, not only in stadiums, but in a lot of different areas where they have their own security guards or employed private security. The body-worn camera adds another layer, and there's plenty of value there. And what we're also seeing is that it can be integrated into different types of video management systems. So sometimes, or a lot of those times, traditional body-worn cameras were standalone. They only went to the cloud, for example. But we embrace open systems and open standards. So our body-worn cameras can be integrated into some of the largest VMS applications in the market.
Well, you bring up another good question for us in the industry as venue operators. What is the value of integrating technologies, from various manufacturers, that open standard? What does that mean to us?
Exactly. So whenever anybody's putting in equipment, they expect it to stay there 10 plus years. And so it's a big investment, and you don't want to be locked into any specific type of vendor or one type of system. So when you talk about open standards, it gives you that interoperability, so you can collaborate with other companies to bring extra value. We like to say 1 + 1 = 3. So with Axis, with a technology partner, combining our solutions, there's going to be more value. So by supporting these open standards, you're future proofing, you're not locking yourself in, and you have the opportunity to divide more value from your solution.
When, as an operator, when do I evaluate that? That's a good question. Like, I know I can integrate other technology, but is it every other year we look at? How should we look at how we can enhance our own capabilities through integration?
Yeah, I think it's important for venue operators to, whenever they select their vendors, to really stay in touch with the market and the trends. And I think, and again, that's why Axis is invested with the IIFX as, thought leadership, staying on top of innovations, really looking at, again, these market trends, the different types of artificial intelligence, analytics, new technologies, because, things change and they change quickly. But again, if you pay attention to the market, you have good connections with associations such as the IIFX, and you have strong relationships with your vendors, you can check in and keep up to date on the latest trends and innovations in the industry through having a solid network.
Well, when you're talking about latest trends, if I hear the word AI every day for 10 times a day, how can the latest enhancements in camera technology, such as AI at the edge, benefit us in the industry? Yeah,
so cameras, the network cameras have processors in them, which means that there are computers at the edge. And those processors, just like Intel processors that run in a computer, get more powerful and more powerful. So this is given, we've had analytics at the edge, for example, with motion detection, but that's pixel-based, pretty simple, but gives you a lot of false positives, false negatives. Yeah. But again, as we've progressed here, those processors inside the cameras have gotten more powerful, and that has enabled them to run advanced analytics, artificial intelligence. So in the past, where you could just tell there's motion, well, now you might be able to identify the objects and then get really detailed information. So say, for example, if you're concerned about a vehicle, maybe it's a truck, maybe it's a car, maybe it's a motorcycle, a bicycle. If it's a person, you're concerned about identifying the person based on what color top they had, what color pants they had on. So as we have evolved through the years, we've gotten much more stronger and accurate analytics based on having more powerful processors in the cameras.
One of the areas that we hear a lot is about parking and traffic issues. How does the analytics come from your cameras help optimize our decision making?
Yeah. Well, first of all, with parking, there's a couple of different types of analytics that are available. One is license plate recognition. And in that, for example, venues can use that to identify VIPs and direct them to specific parking on where they should go. And then also can send a notification to, say, the suite where they have arrived and get the suite ready for their arrival. The other analytics that can be used for this is, analytics that help determine the traffic of the arrival of the person to the facility in terms of directing them to either the closest or whatever is the most optimal for the facility. So different types of these types of analytics can help you be much more efficient in parking. Absolutely.
Well, same thing with queue management software, right? The changes in food and beverage today and the retail. Tell us a little bit about that, how you can help us.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can be, those types of analytics can count people. They can determine how the length of lines for concessions, for example, and either send alarm alerts to say, hey, we need to have more staffing at this particular location. Or they can use it for staff to say, there's nobody at this location. If you walked down here 2 more minutes, then you'll be able to be served much more quicker. But that's also the other thing that there's a lot of value is on entering the facility in terms of the gate entrances, where people tend to go all to the same gate, and then there could be nobody or relatively few people at a further gate, and just make it more efficient for the fans to get in and get into their seats and start watching the game. So all those analytics can monitor the crowd for those.
It's about the fan journey.
Absolutely.
And the influence that Access Communications can have based on just the last few minutes is pretty significant. And, when we're looking at retail, how about retail too? We talked about food and beverage a little bit here and the queue lines, and how can you help us in our retail side?
Yeah, well, like you said, on the retail, a lot of that goes to the staffing and making sure, depending upon the hours, when they, prior to the game, during the game, and after the game. So it has to do with staffing. It's also obviously on, cameras are used for loss prevention, identifying objects, that type of activity. There's just a wealth of, on the security side, the different types of retail analytics that you can run. You can even, get very, there's also the self-checkouts, which some companies have gone to, where you don't need any staffing at all. So cameras can be used to identify products when they're picked up and taken out, or even if they're put back, then they're not charged for it. So there's a lot of analytics that are being used in the retail environment right now.
I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking back, I can't say 10 years, when we were considered a black hole, especially when it came to video. And look at this discussion the last 20 minutes or so of how we've evolved as an industry and the technology to, most of our discussion has been really non-security in a way.
Right.
And that's all fits into the uniqueness of the journey of the fan, and to making sure that it's seamless and enjoyable for them. And so the combination of safety, security, marketing, has really been revolving around really the videos, the video networking that we put into our venues, and this integration, this open standard, this open design has made it happen. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things there. Is that not only is it, video has been somewhat of the centric piece, but as we discussed, there's audio now, there's IP-based intercoms, there's access control. So all of these technologies are layered and can be used for both, traditional physical security, but those different types of operational efficiencies. Yeah. And then the second part, in terms of the standards, we're seeing a lot more different types of what we consider operational efficiency analytics, what you had mentioned. And a lot of those, that software development is from companies that have very strong development platforms that are based on the cloud provider. So the Microsoft, the Amazons, and the Googles. So they have a very wide ecosystem of software developers that have written code for the cloud. And what we're seeing is that code can be moved from the cloud to a server on a central site at the venue, or even some of those AI models can be run at the edge as well. So the future is really bright, and it's very exciting because a lot of these developments and standardizations, again, from these big IT companies, are moving from that cloud to the edge server to the camera itself.
So as an operator, let's go over this one more time to his or her advantages when we say edge, server, and cloud, right? Mm-hmm. Which we just discussed. What do we need to be thinking about for efficiency, for safety, security, operations when we talk about those three? So just clarify it for us so that we can better understand that and making better decisions when we purchase.
Sure. So we typically view the edge as the camera itself. And when we started at the beginning, the camera has a processors and a computer, basically. So you can use that to leverage some type of analytics, depending upon the use case and what you're trying to do. If you have a facility and you have needs for significant analytics that require a lot of power, well, you may want to look at a central server that has video cards that can process a lot of streams at the same time. And again, this does get back to the use cases and the needs of the facility. So what are you trying to achieve? And that's what you do in consultation with consortiums and with vendors such as us. And then can you leverage the cloud? So obviously the cloud can be used for storing video, but it also can be used for consolidating video as well. The other point I want to make is what you can do at the edge is, you can process the analytics, but you can have it set up so it's only going to send what we call metadata. And metadata is data about data. So you can save on that bandwidth and storage and send that information to a server or a cloud. So you can really save on, again, the bandwidth, storage, processing power, and get the output of the camera. And you don't need to send that video or audio. You can just send the data about the data. So it really goes back to your question. It determines, what do you want to do? What are your needs and what are you trying to solve? And then based on that, we can help make the recommendations for the type of applications that you need and the configuration of your system. So you can leverage maybe 2 of those or 3 of those. It really depends on, again, the venue and the application and the use case.
Yeah. We've been talking about the venue itself for the last few minutes. And now let's move away from, the stadium or arena itself as we see the expansion of our industry growing more into a multi-development concept. So how has the collaboration with city and local officials been managed with these venues when I'm looking at this whole idea of video solutions,
Yeah, it's been an increasing trend as we've found throughout the years, and one of the things is that a lot of venues that, especially particularly the ones that are older, don't have what's considered a security operations center or a SOC. So they might not have the space, they might not have the expertise, but they can install servers and some monitors. But what we're seeing is they can collaborate with their city, with the police department that do have the resources that can combine with them and give access to them to help supplement what they're doing, like during the game day. So if there is an incident, they can help with response and have an extra pair of eyes on the facility. So as we know, the venues are already engaged with local officials and police departments, and this gives them just another way, another tool that they can help collaborate by having and sharing this information.
So are we referring to a smart stadium or arena and a smart city?
Absolutely.
Combining together? Is that what you see down the road to integrate everything?
Absolutely. And that's a big trend that we're seeing. And then, again, by having an open system and an open platform and being able to integrate into these different types of systems, you're going to get more information, more wealth of your data, be able to respond more quickly, have better eyes. All those things add the value to your system.
Wow. Well, Rob, I want to thank you too for a great podcast. If people want to reach you, is there any way we could inform them? And
Sure. Again, my name's Rob Meuhlbauer. Last name is M as in Mary, U-E-H-L, B as in boy, A-U-E-R. And at robert.meuhlbauer@axis.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find, Dr. Lou.
Okay. Well, Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.